Our next guest is here to share how they are making the dream of home ownership come true. Please welcome for the first time the National Sales Manager for Unison Home Ownership Investors, Mike.lyon.
There he is. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Ryan, how you doing? Good to have you.
Doing great. Thank you. Thanks
Awesome.
for the opportunity.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's a lot of challenges that home buyers are facing in today's marketplace, and have been for several years now. And you and your organization really help address some of those challenges, or many of those challenges, actually.
We do indeed. Absolutely. The challenge, of course, in California particularly, is that home prices have continued to rise over time. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, we've had a low interest rate environment for the last few years, which has helped. But the rising price environment, along with low inventory, makes it very challenging, very competitive to be able to buy a home in California. Most offers are made in a multiple offer situation, so you're always competing with the other person to try to buy the home of your dreams. So we help in many ways, actually. Home buyers up to this point have only had a debt-only solution, meaning they could either just borrow the money with private mortgage insurance or get a secondary loan, or of course at minimum have 20% down to avoid those things. A debt-only solution, unfortunately, is very restrictive, very finite. You either qualify for it or you don't. You either have the 20% down or you're really behind the eight ball relative to being able to make an offer. So we offer a non-debt solution with our Unison Homebuyer Agreement. It's really about empowering buyers in this environment, flexibility and options that they've never had before. So we're very excited.
Would you call this a down payment assistance type
I wouldn't say
program?
down payment assistance. We like to call it down payment enhancement.
Okay.
Because what we're doing very simply is we're investing, we're partnering with the buyer right alongside them and enhancing their down payment and therefore enhancing their ability to buy the home.
And that's definitely the number, from what I see, the number one issue for people is saving enough money to make a down payment. Because you have to save a significant chunk of change. If we're saying the average home price or home value is about $500,000, let's say approximately in San Diego County, 20% down payment is $100,000. Just a 10% down payment is $50,000, and 5% is $25,000. So that's a lot of money for most people to try to save, to sock away. It could take years and years and years. So I'm curious about what it is specifically. What does that Unison Homebuyer program or contract look like for somebody? Like, let's say I want to buy a house, but I don't have the money. How does that look?
Well, thank you for asking that question. You've hit on many of the pain points, but saving is the primary one. We deal with a lot of people where the monthly payment isn't really the issue. They can handle the monthly payment on the home of their dreams, but saving up for that down payment is really a hindrance. It's really a barrier to entry into home ownership. And so by virtue of partnering with them, we allow them to move up that time horizon significantly. The uniqueness relative to our program is because we're an investment company, we're a home ownership company. We don't bring debt to the equation. We bring cash to the equation, but there's no payments or interest associated with our agreement. So we not only allow that potential purchaser to be competitive when making an offer, but we're not adding the burden of debt to the process. So very unique.
Hold on a second. So you're telling me you give me money to help me buy a house, but I don't have to pay you back?
Well, I didn't say you didn't have to pay me back, but I did say that
I don't have to make a monthly payment to you.
That's correct, nor is interest ever charged for up to 30 years into the future. So the takeaway, of course, for our clients and for all of the purchasers out there is flexibility and options and empowerment around this whole process.
So if there's no payment associated, from what I understand, that would really help the qualification process too, would it not? Because typically, someone, and this is more of an old school thing, but people used to get two mortgages, 80-20s or 80-15s or 80-10s, where you get a first and a second mortgage at the time to help, reduce that down payment amount. But of course, that second mortgage had a higher interest rate, a pretty big payment, and therefore the overall mortgage obligation was really high. And that made it even more difficult, for people. So it sort of canceled itself out. From what I understand, what you're saying is by providing that down payment enhancement, that would actually help people reduce their pain, wouldn't it?
No question. You've hit on a pain point as well, and that's not old school. That's still happening today. So today, if you have less than 20% down, and you're making an offer, you're behind the 8 ball on a number of fronts. Number one, getting your offer accepted with less than 20% down is very difficult.
Yeah.
Number two, you either need to have a PMI associated with that debt solution or a secondary loan in place, which adds all sorts of challenges and complications to the transaction, two sets of approval and expenses, no question about it. So essentially, by bringing no debt to the equation, we're allowing, number one, buyers to be competitive. Number two, to have lower debt because we're taking the loan from 90% and or with secondary financing all the way down to 80%. We're removing PMI from the equation and or secondary financing from the equation. So all of that therefore reduces their debt structure and allows them to feel more confident and comfortable, not only be competitive, but also put them in a position of more responsible home ownership.
It's very powerful.
It is.
Situation there. I got to ask you though, Mike. I mean, what's the catch? What's what's in it? What's in it for you guys?
Well, we get that question asked a lot of us. Trust me. But it's more about what's the catch. Like, who would do it? What financial institution would partner in a down payment? Never expect monthly payments nor interest. And the answer is that our investors are university endowment programs and pension funds. Both of those very patient capital looking for ways to invest in single-family residential real estate to hedge inflation and for long-term returns. And we partner with the buyer in the down payment, and then we partner with them in the future change in value of the property, up or down, going forward. And it's market movement only. So we're a true partner in that sense.
Wow. I tell you, that's a landmark idea that no one has really, I've never heard of this before. So I've never heard of anything even like this before.
It's been around a long time in the
really
commercial sense.
That really is a partnership, though.
It
I
is.
mean,
True partnership.
you're partnering with the home buyer in a way that is almost like you're investing alongside them, almost like you're buying stock in their home ownership opportunity. So what you're saying is the people who are your investors, your ultimate investors, are the very long-term oriented, very patient, big money people who say, we want to invest in something that's really secure and safe like homes, which over long periods of time have shown to go up and up and up. And that also, at the same time, allows you to really put home buyers in a position that they could have never otherwise been in to buy a home with a bigger down payment, have a lower monthly payment, skip the PMI, which is a huge deal killer for so many people. That is insane. That's amazing. So how do I qualify for something like this? I mean, what do I need to have? Do I need to have certain credit scores, or do I need to be buying in certain neighborhoods?
Well, we're very fortunate to be currently working with the agencies, and we have partnering or participating lenders that are participating with our program. So essentially, we don't qualify the buyer. We let our lending partner do that. We're concerned, and we want to, of course, view the home or preview the home very quickly in advance to make sure it's a property that we'd like to invest in right alongside the buyer. But the process is very simple. We simply work right alongside our lender. It's all done in lockstep, very synergistic with the process. So we add no burden or qualifying from the purchaser's perspective.
Okay, so it's just if they're qualified through your lender, then you're good, and then you're just going to double check the property, which I see that as a huge benefit, especially for first-time home buyers who don't really know what to. I'm sure, having your expertise on top of their emotion in wanting to buy a house is helpful from the investment side. It's just, if you come in and you say, we don't want to invest in this property, then they probably shouldn't either.
That's interesting. I've had that conversation a few times, as you might imagine. So yes, absolutely, having a second set of eyes strictly from a investment perspective is critical to many buyers.
That is incredible. Wow. So could you have an example? Can you tell me about somebody who maybe recently used the program or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the value propositions, as you might imagine, are significant.
Yeah.
From a debt-to-income ratio perspective, from a wanting to conserve cash perspective. I'll give you a perfect example of a recent homeowner that called me. They had fallen in love with a house. They were both, however, big cooks. That was their passion. The one thing that hadn't been updated in the house was the kitchen. And that was, from their perspective, a deal breaker. They had the full 20 to put down. However, they learned about us, and they called me. So, Mike, we have an idea. We've got this full 20, but it's all the money we have, and we can't imagine how we're going to be able to remodel the kitchen, which is really critical to us. So the question they had was, how about if we save back some of that 20, conserve that cash, ask you to make up the difference via your down payment enhancement program, and we take that cash and remodel the kitchen and make it our perfect dream home. And of course, we were more than delighted to do it.
Wow.
So that's just one of the many value
One of the flexible ways
Absolutely.
that you can use it, even if you have 20 already. Ah, man, great
Absolutely.
stuff. Mike Lyon, thank you so much for coming in
My
today. This is
pleasure.
an incredible program.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Amazing stuff
Nice
for
meeting you.
first-time home buyers. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Commercial free.